I'm Brad Leavitt, president of AFT Construction. Thank you for tuning into our YouTube channel today as we answer some questions from some of our listeners. So it's been asked by quite a few people, and as we've networked throughout the industry and have been speaking at some of these colleges and other construction management functions, one of the questions that's often asked is, what's your story? How did you get to where you are? How is AFT what it is today? And I think it's important. This is going to be a little bit longer of a video. We're going to share a lot of personal information that most may not know about AFT and myself, Brad Leavitt, right? So I grew up in San Diego. I was the oldest of 6 children. My father was an electrician. My mom was stay at home. So my father was in the union there in San Diego. He worked as a union electrician at the San Diego Zoo and the airport in San Diego, the power plant, Sony power plant. So that was his industry. It wasn't a company that I could go work for, but my grandfather, his father, had started an electrical company, a private electrical company. So my father's 2 brothers, my 2 uncles, ran this electrical company. It was commercial and residential. And so I was fortunate that when I was through high school, when I was about 14, I was able to work with them and was the grunt crawling under the house. And we worked on these amazing homes in Coronado and Rancho Santa Fe and La Jolla. And so I was really exposed to, custom homes and high-end commercial projects all throughout San Diego, and really grew a love for electrical. When I first started, I didn't like it. I didn't like getting up super early and showing up to the job site and bringing my lunch and carrying around tools. But as I started to learn the industry and the craft and the town and the people, I really began to appreciate the amount of work that goes into what we all enjoy today. And I'll rewind to this, but it's funny because I talked to some of my coworkers, having been in the industry most of my life now. It's interesting when I walk into a hotel or a building and I just look around at the complexity to build this and the amount of work and labor that goes in. It's satisfying to know that we're part of that we do that on our own. But at that time, as a teenager, you're not really sure a career path. And I remember I was working in Rancho Santa Fe at this amazing house on the golf course. And there's a superintendent, so he had his job site trailer, and he'd be the one directing us on the work that needs to be done and schedule and timing. And he was a nice guy, but was very affirmative. And I remember thinking, I want to be that guy. I want to be that manager on site that's directing everyone. I'm tired of my uncle telling me that I have to go into the house and pull wires, especially in some of these remodels in Coronado where there's who knows what you're going to find under the house or in the attic. There's a lot of mice sometimes and other things you'll find. So it's not the most pleasant to go into there. So I remember thinking, I don't want to be on my knees going under here all day. I want to be able to be that boss. And so I had actually, 2 years after high school, I served an ecclesiastical mission in Argentina. I learned Spanish, which was super beneficial because Spanish is so important. When I returned, I went to school at BYU. And my focus actually at BYU when I first started, I thought I was going to go into business. So I had taken the business core classes, but I was working doing construction and then realizing that BYU had a construction management class and remembering that experience in Rancho Santa Fe. And I had some peers that had done the construction management program and spoke highly of it, that BYU had a great program and great opportunities. So I knew that was my passion. I knew I loved that probably more than the business venture I was going to take, and I decided to, at that point, to realign my focus, and I took all the core classes to get in construction management, and then, of course, through summer internships, I worked for some amazing companies. I actually went back to San Diego and worked for these big low-voltage companies there. One thing that was taught to me that I talk about a lot is that chase experience, not money. A lot of us, as I get back to my story here in a minute, we focus on the dollars, which is important. We all have to make a living. But chase experience and use that as you're picking a career and as you're picking jobs or companies to work for. If you have a desire to start your own company, as I did, which we'll get to, had I not had the experience I had, there would have been no way to do what we're doing today. So find a company that you can be taught and trained and learn and be pushed outside of your comfort level, whether it be you're communicating with banks and vendors and clients and owners at a high level to learn how to communicate and, to have that professional conversation with them, understand processes, what are the processes the company has, what information can you learn, because the more information you have, the more knowledge in your industry from not only the technical side in the field, but also the organizational side. And most people are successful in their field, but they're not successful running a business. So it's really important to understand marketing and business and all the processes that go into it. So that was taught to me, chase experience. And so when I was in college taking construction management, I had a company, it was a low voltage and structural wiring company, fire alarm company in San Diego. And I went to work for them, and I had a peer to work for them that recommended that. And the reason I did that was to learn a lot more about how a subcontractor works and that mentality. I had experience working for my uncle and seeing firsthand the mentality of a subcontractor, so I could understand what they're dealing with and their overhead and labor issues. But the advantage of this company, they did a lot of military work. So I was fortunate to work at the submarine base on Point Loma in San Diego. I worked on Coronado Island on North Shore, right? I worked on the Marine base up by Camp Pendleton, and so we were a private contractor, but I worked on a lot of the schools over the summer because kids are out for the summer, so that's when they'd remodel, and we did fiber optics and fire alarm and low voltage structural wiring. So I got a good understanding of prevailing wage and government work and military work, as well as unions, right, and all those different things that go into that. And so it was a great experience for me to understand that level for 4 months in between college. So when I graduated from college, this was 2005, I always wanted to go into high-end luxury because that's what I'd worked in San Diego. And then, so in 2005, I took a job for a production builder. And again, another mentor said, Brad, no matter whether you're getting commercial or high-end, there's something about production that really helps you understand the processes. So I took a job with Trent Homes in Phoenix, and I worked there for 1 year. It was just under 1 year, it's about 11 and a half months. And it was a big stepping stone in my career because it was a semi-production company, so it wasn't entry-level homes, it was more of a mid-level, nicer homes. And I had a great team around me. So actually Adam, who works with me now, was my mentor. He trained me. And being handed 20 homes as a superintendent out of college, even though I had a lot of construction experience, I didn't have the management experience. And so learning how to schedule 20 homes and manage that many trades in a home that you're trying to build in 4 to 5 months, and the quality and detail, and it was very advantageous to go through that. So it was a great experience for me young in my career. And this is 2005, so it was the boom. It was very hectic. And one thing I wish I would have learned is how important it was to save money, right? Because here's the recession coming. We didn't know about it. I was young and I thought it'd be great forever. That's what it is. Everyone's building, buying, life's good. So, in 2005, I worked for them. In 2006, it was my dream job. They were just breaking ground on this $350 million hotel resort in Paradise Valley called the Mauna Lucia, that some people know on Lincoln and Tatum. And the firm that was contracted to build this hotel had an opportunity, and I applied and was fortunate because one of the things they were looking for is the reason I was hired in that company is they needed someone that understood scheduling. So in college, I took, we had Primavera and P3, and so I was able to understand scheduling software. I'd worked production, so I understood the flow of construction and how this process goes. So my interview wasn't sitting across from someone asking, what are your strengths and weaknesses? They said, okay, Brad, we're in our conference room. Here's the software, build us a schedule. And for 25 minutes, I sat there and showed them, quickly how I could put together a schedule, and I was hired for that position. And that position, and when I get back to that Chase experience, this was an opportunity now for 3 years to work on one of the most signature properties in all of Phoenix. And although the pay was not high, for me, this was a great opportunity now that I could learn and be exposed to developers out of Newport Beach and banks and the architects and designers that are all involved, and all the consultants and all the little things that go on, and FF&E, which is the furnishings and fixtures and equipment that go into this project, and building a hotel, and the guest rooms and production, and you're buying stuff from China and bringing it in, and just the complexity of this project was eye-opening. Understanding how to manage $300 million of work and get that completed. So I worked there for 3.5 years, and the recession hit. The recession hit in 2008. We were 2 years into the resort. And fortunately, at that first wave, we still had the resort for a year, so we were still busy and didn't feel the brunt of that. But then we did. The company really slowed down. Roughly 300 employees. We narrowed down to probably about 40, so it really was thinned out. And I was worried about my career. I was worried about what the future was going to entail for construction. Arizona was hit really bad. But again, those points, right? Chase experience, not money. So that experience was there. It's just now, how do we find that opportunity? So I had some peers that had done construction or had gone back to get their MBA. And I was actually, we talk about entrepreneur. Are you a natural entrepreneur? And some people are either born as an entrepreneur or they're forced to be an entrepreneur. And I always like to say that I was born an entrepreneur because my uncles and a lot of my family are entrepreneurs. But in essence, I was forced to be one because I had planned to go back to get my MBA. I had this experience and I was going to go in to work for a large firm in development, commercial development, retail, hospital, construction. And I'd taken the GMAT, had applied to a bunch of business schools to get my MBA, ASU and UCLA, U of A, BYU again. And so some of these schools I'd applied to, I was accepted and I was about 2 weeks from starting school. So this is 2011. School starts in September, and here we are in August. I paid my rent, I paid deposit. I was married, had 3 daughters that were 7, 5, and 2 years old. And my ex-wife at the time, who some of you may not even know the story, she decided that it wasn't for her. She said, "I'm not going to be going with you to college." And she was ready to be divorced, and she had other plans. We were living in Phoenix. We were going to be relocating to school, and she was going to move to Hollywood, to California. And that was very challenging. 2011, I trained my replacement at the company I was working for when we built Monte Lucia. They were not hiring, and they didn't have a position for me. I didn't have an ability to go to college now as a single father with 3 daughters. And the whole world came crashing down. I didn't have a job. I was unemployed. 2011, and there was just no work. So it's at that time where you think, okay, what do I do? How do I pivot? How do I'm forced to be an entrepreneur now. How do I take care of my family? And it's the most difficult and dark time of my life. And I was fortunate that, they talk about it's not what you know, but who you know. And there were some great people I've met over the years in my career. And one of those was Dave Clark. So Dave Clark had built a company in the food industry. He had done manufacturing, dairy, protein for GNC and Vitamin Shop and Ben & Jerry's and a lot of these national brands. He was a supplier for them. And he had, in the recession, he had a second home in Phoenix and then purchased property and then hired Roland, the company I was working for, to do some work. And so that relationship as a builder-owner is super important. And I'll tell you how that applied to me is that Dave and I became really good friends. Dave and I had a great respect for each other. Dave is roughly 25 years my senior. But again, there was this mutual respect and professionalism. And he had hired us because he had known our talent level and desire and work ethic. And after the project was successful, well, now he had found out that I was going through divorce. I was unemployed, and he had called me and said, "Hey, Brad, I'm an entrepreneur by heart, and I believe in you. I believe in your passion and your capabilities, and I want to start a company." So he backed me, just like you'd have Shark Tank. You come in, you have your business plan, you have an idea, you get some investors, and then they own a portion of the company, and you go build it, and they're that support staff to open up that network. And so he challenged me in a lot of ways, and I re-pivoted my entire life and career. No more business school. I never went back, never got my MBA. I ended up going back to get my license, and fortunately I had enough experience over the 7 years that I've been working here in Phoenix, and received a B1 license, which accredited us to do any project in town, commercial, residential of any value, because I had that experience, Chase experience, right? Had I not worked for $50,000 building this amazing resort that I was underpaid for, well, that allowed me the experience now to get the top tier contractor's license in town, which has now allowed us to build what we are today. So Dave was just a great partner of mine, a silent partner. He's retired. but someone that I can lean on, just a mentor as we started to build this company. And so it started with me, and that's just how it was. I had all this experience, and now, okay, it's time to figure it out. Well, how? I don't have AFT, or Finer Touch Construction, is a new company. We don't have a product. We don't have a resume. So how do you start building that? So now it's, okay, let's start talking to all our family members. Let's start marketing. Let's start figuring out any job lead we can get. And we started very small. When we first started in 2013, we officially opened our doors in March of 2013. We would take a bathroom remodel, we would do a vanity, we would do a little kitchen, we would demo a house, whatever it was, and I was in the field running these projects. And then we got busy enough where I could bring on a few staff members, and we hired Adam and Sue that I had worked with previously, and they came on, and now they could be in the field, and I could be in the field, and we started to grow this thing. And one thing that was super important was marketing, because no matter how big or small you are, we were able to market our company to show our ability of communication and professionalism and quality and site cleanliness. Now you put this together, and over time it starts to build. It takes time, and it took roughly 4 years. It wasn't really until 2017 that we started to hit our stride and really understand, the projects that are good for us and the clients that are good for us and red flags to look for. And over the last 3 years, we've been very blessed to build this amazing company, and now, we've grown to a staff of 12. And social media is a big part of what we do. We've optimized those channels to really show our story, our systems, our process, and all that comes back to having worked as a commercial contractor, college educated, and then our team, all of our different experiences, we put that together and evaluate and audit each other, make each other accountable. And so for anyone starting a company, think about that story. Well, I would have never known in college that here I'd be 15 years later running this our company, running this organization. So it's really important that you're learning those processes and systems so that when you're ready to start yours, you have those in place. So that's just a quick backstory, a little longer version of AFT and myself, Brad Leavitt, and in there I didn't throw in, so it was kind of a whirlwind, that dark time in 2011. Well, fast forward 2012, a mutual friend introduced me to Ashley, who some of you do know, that follows on Instagram at least, or in my network. She's a designer, and she has her own Instagram, Golden Oak. And so Ashley and I were introduced on a blind date right after the Super Bowl in 2012. And we were married that summer, and she had not been married, so she was an instant mom. So instant mom of 3 girls, and she had been working in Washington, D.C. for the prior 6 years for a big development and design firm in Washington, D.C. in Georgetown, and just had felt that it was time to move back to Phoenix, where she was from, and timing was everything. She moved back, we meet, we're married, we've since had 3 children, so 6 total. We've had 2 girls and a boy, and blended family, at least from my side, bringing in 3 stepkids for her, 3 of my children. And but it's fun because now we collaborate. Now our kids are growing. Our oldest is going to be driving soon. Our youngest is 2, and my wife is doing design for 4 of our projects. And so now we've been able to integrate that family scenario. So one of the questions that's often asked is it a sore subject if we work with other designers that aren't my wife, right? And what's funny is, we're in the thick of it right now with 6 kids. I'm running AFT. Our company's grown exponentially. We have these amazing projects. We're fully engulfed. And, we have 6 children. And my wife has always, wanted to spend that time with our kids, right? To have that one-on-one time. That's been very important. She's always wanted to be a mom and have that. And so this is something that she's done, part-time for now, because it's, our priority is our children. And so, as she finds time, we have, 4 projects that she's involved in. But at some point she'd like to grow that and work more with us. And one of the benefits is that it's not a sore subject because we have enough work that there's enough that she can do that keeps her super busy. And she can be challenged with her designs and clients. And then we have other work to continue that network with some of the designers we work with. So she's been great. She loves the opportunity when she can work with us and understands, she's also had other clients reach out that she's working with that we're not even a part of. So she's built this little enterprise now where she's working with other builders and clients as well. So it's been fun that we can integrate when we can, and then also, there's enough there that we can be diversified as well. Thanks for tuning in to the YouTube channel today about our story and how AFT came to be. Please make sure and like, comment, and subscribe.